This year, the partnership is focusing its collaborative efforts across the cradle to career continuum, as you all mentioned, pursuing high impact anti-racist strategies like preschool integration with the K through 12 system, increasing the recruitment and retention of teachers of color, closing the digital divide, ensuring that impacted high school students have wraparound supports through success networks, just to name a few. Can you speak to one of the partnership strategies that you are personally energized by and describe how it will help accomplish our collective vision for educational equity? And I'm going to ask that we start off with Monica and then go to Chandra and then Anna.
So for me, all of these different strategies are super important, right? But the one that speaks the most to me is definitely really focusing on making sure that students have these wraparound supports. Growing up in Marin, going through the school system, coming from a low-income family, from immigrant family, and then myself, my situation being a parent now, and then just being involved with the school and just really, really working directly with the English learning community. And just seeing all of the struggles, the struggles that I went through, the struggles that my parents went through, the struggles that these families are going through now, especially even more during this COVID pandemic. I really see the importance of having a really strong relationship with the school districts and all these community organizations, all these community services, all the resources that are out there, because a lot of these families don't know. They don't have the access. They don't have, the literacy skills to really be able to look for these services, namely after school programs, tutoring programs, free tutoring. A lot of our students who are underserved and come from low income families don't have the resources to be able to access, these programs, and be able to be at the same achieving levels as their their peers and other students. A huge one for me is special education. For me, having a daughter who was just recently diagnosed with ADHD, and coming from a family that doesn't talk about that, having that, coming from a culture that we're not educated in that, knowing how to detect it, how to, really read the signs in our children and what they're struggling with, and having to wait until she's in high school to realize, oh, this is what she has, this is what she struggles with, and having her go through middle school, and administrators punish her for having having the effects of this illness, and then now having this 504 plan in high school that's really giving her all the support, that all these accommodations that are going to help her, right? And so for me, it's huge. We have a program like Matrix Parent Network that has all this information and all this education for parents that don't have the skills or the knowledge when it comes to all these learning and other type of disabilities. So I feel like that's why I feel like really building these relationships with the districts and these resources is so important, so that parents have these resources available, have access to these different organizations that they can reach out to if they need it, right? And again, any something like basic needs or technology support, or family support, counseling. A lot of our families can't afford it, right? And some families don't have the jobs that offer all these different types of benefits where they have access to counseling or whatever. And so I feel like healthy family relationships are so important. And so if we have access to different type of support programs, counseling programs, it's huge. It's huge. And I say this coming from a dysfunctional family, a low-income family, working with these types of families. This is something that is near and dear to my heart. And so I feel like Marin Promise Partnership could really play a huge role in really strengthening these relationships with districts and community organizations and resources.
I want to echo, Monica, you're putting families at the center. I think if we really understand the importance of the family and the well-being of the family, then we start to think differently about our community. And it's not just the silo of an early childhood education and what parents need to support them in getting to work, because they can't get to work if they don't have someplace safe for their children. And they're not resting at ease while they're at work if they don't have someplace safe for their children. So that early childhood development, social emotional development and cognitive development go hand in hand with family well-being. And so to move from a silo of ECE to K-12 and say that actually we're part of a community family is critically important for the well-being of our society. So maintaining a focus on family and connection as human beings in relationship, I think becomes then the heartbeat of our message. And Marin Promise Partnership embracing across the continuum the importance of the interrelationships that we have in systems that perpetuate inequity, right? And helping us to realize that, to say our commitment is larger and we'll focus on the people across these systems in order to ensure the linkages, the connections, the supports that are needed. Because as you well said, we thrive not only in trusted relationships, but we thrive when we're supported. So our children coming to school at any age with bellies that are happy, our children coming from a place where they do feel like, and parents feel like their children's needs, as you mentioned with your daughter, are being met when they're struggling. And how are we best understanding the challenges that individuals and families are facing? So when I think about what we can focus on with one another, it really is the importance of looking at the community family, recognizing the disparities, recognizing, as Jackie said at the outset, that the pandemic has given us an opportunity to look differently, see differently the needs of individuals, well-being, mental health, basic food security, and understanding that we can't solve problems unless we look at from those basic needs elevated through the crisis of the pandemic to our greater awareness, collective awareness, through how are the systems and structures supporting the individuals, the families, the intergenerational components of what it means and takes for societal well-being. So I think that as we're looking at what's most important, it is the interconnections, it is the interrelationship, and it is the perspective of it takes all of us. We are stronger together, but we have to start with what do people need? And what people needs means the whole person. It means emotional well-being, it means physical well-being, it means the larger sort of spiritual sense of connection and connectivity that's important to sustain us at a deep personal level. And it does take all of us.
Once again, I think that it's not by accident that we hear a lot of the same language that's being expressed by Monica and by Chandra. A lot of the words and a lot of the phrases include intersectionality, and it's that continuum that makes this work so strong. Jackie started in her introduction by mentioning that Marin Promise is part of a national effort led by Strive Together, which is our mothership. And I just wanted to mention that we have an opportunity where we can leverage our local work and be part of a national project. The work is really looking at systems level issues and developing systems level solutions. And so I just wanted to mention the three areas that we are focusing on, Marin Promise. We're looking at building and expanding a teacher of color pipeline. We know that all students, regardless of their ethnicity, will benefit by being taught by teachers that also represent that diversity. The second thing we're looking at is the newly implemented ethnic studies curriculum that we're finding in all of our high schools. It's a statewide effort. It will be soon a high school graduation requirement. And we're really looking at the student voice and their perceptions of those new classes. And the third is a related, we're looking at culturally responsive curriculum. Once again, embedding the message of ethnicity, of diversity into all subject areas, not just within the ethnic studies class. And so this work is really exciting because what it really is focusing on is representation and student voice and student perception. And so that way we have a feedback kind of a system where we're going to be surveying students and asking them about what impact is your ethnic studies class having on your own sense of identity. And so once again, that systems level work though is not just tweaking around the edges, it's really looking at what processes and systems do we have in place, which if they're tweaked with a view of greater representation, greater student voice, greater diversity, and greater equity in its content, it'll benefit all of our students in the system. Thank you.